Okay, can we start?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any doubts from the previous session?
No, sir.
So we discussed about positivism in the previous session. Any doubts from positivism? No. Okay, so we have also discussed about science. So science, that discussion and positivism you can actually connect. So I'm expecting that these two topics. Is there any problem with the voice?
No, sir.
Some of you are messaging. I think tomorrow or day after tomorrow the problem with my internet will get fixed. So I've done the arrangement for that. So yeah, poor audio. I will get it fixed by tomorrow for sure. It's done already. So Himanshu, is it still problem? You cannot listen to me? Or is it manageable? Okay, is it okay for others? Akhila?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, please manage for today and to the maximum tomorrow. I will fix it in today or tomorrow. Tomorrow, maximum it will get fixed.
Okay.
Yeah. So science, if you remember, if you go for a quick recap, what are the 4 points that you need to discuss here in science? Inter-subject, reliability, right? Then we have discussed about quantifiability. Can you switch off your mics? Somebody's mic is on. All of you please switch off your mics. Okay. Quantifiability, then we have objectivity, then we have theoretical orientation and testing. So these are the main components that we need to discuss under science. And positivism also, most of the elements from science only we discussed. This is there, theory is there, testing is there, objectivity is there, and then scientific methods to be used. And you study the external realities, external aspects. So these are the elements of positivism that we have discussed. Okay, I've told you second chapter, the second topic, that is major theoretical strands, we will discuss later. So the first topic we have done science, then we have discussed the third topic, that is positivism. The fourth topic is actually related to fact, value, objectivity. That I will complete after discussing non-positivism. So what I will do today is I will discuss positivism as a non-positivism as a continuation of the previous session, positivism. And then after that, day after tomorrow, I will discuss about fact, value, objectivity, that particular topic. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So can you tell me what are the criticisms that we discussed under positivism? What are the main criticisms in the positivist approach? What are the main criticisms in positivism? The most important criticism. We discussed positivism and its critique. So
Sir,
So there is no internal element involved when we study.
yes. So mainly the main criticism is actually the positivists are focusing on external aspects, right? So positivists focus on external aspect, but when it comes to external aspect, this is only the partial understanding of reality. You are studying the human beings, okay? So you are studying human beings. So what is more important? Human actions are more important. And when you're studying the human actions, the meanings of the actor is very important. Why I am doing this action is very much important in understanding the reality. But when it comes to positivism, Auguste Comte even explicitly said that you don't want to understand the internal meanings, motives, emotions, etc. You should refrain from all these things. Auguste Comte explicitly made this point that you should refrain from internal aspect. So in that context, we have said that positivism is actually a partial understanding of reality. And then we discussed about, in the other approach, non-positivism, we will cover it up. So here in this session, we are going to focus on non-positivism, and non-positivism is all about focusing on this part, internal aspect. So here we will be talking about internal aspect of social reality. So this trace its origin from Weber. Even before Weber, there was Hegel. There is a concept of dialectical idealism. There are idealists. They actually deviated from positivist, but in sociology we give more focus on Weber. Okay, so we will give more focus on Weber, and here we will be studying about different non-positivist. Like we will talk about Weber, what is the approach of Weber. We will also briefly discuss about Mead. Then we will discuss about phenomenology. We will discuss about phenomenology, and then we discuss about ethnomethodology. So phenomenology and ethnomethodology. Out of this four, actually these are pure non-positivism. Pure non-positivism. And these two, if you see, there is an element of positivism. At the same time, there is an element of non-positivism. Okay, so if you see here, what I want to tell you is, first there is positivism, then comes a section of people who is actually mix of positivism and non-positivism, and then comes pure non-positivist. Okay, so positivist, so what is their understanding? Study the external reality. External reality means objective reality. So they will say study objective reality. How you study? You study objectively. So positivism is about objective study of objective reality. Is this okay? Objective study of objective reality. You studying objectively and you studying the objective reality. Okay, when it comes to this people, Weber deviated from positivism in terms of subject matter. Weber said, you should study the meanings. So you should study the meanings means internal aspect. That means here we are talking about objective reality, but Weber is talking about subjective reality. So what should be studied? What should be studied? You should be studying subjective reality. But Weber stressing on objective study. So how you study? You study objectively, and for that you have to use scientific methods, etc. So Weber's approach is objective study of subjective reality. Any doubt here? Any doubt here? Objective study of subjective reality. I'll tell you what you mean by objective study, because you use scientific methods, etc. That is how you can ensure objectivity. So you use scientific methods and study the phenomena, but the phenomena that you're going to study is subjective.
Sir, can you please explain once again?
Yes. So what I'm saying is, when we discussed about positivist, first we discussed about positivist. So what they are saying is, what reality you are studying? You are studying the external reality. That means you are studying objective reality, right? You can quantify, empirical, natural, all these things you have discussed. So what is subject matter? It is objective reality. And how you are conducting the study? You conduct the study objectively. So objective study of objective reality. Is this okay for all of you? This part, positivist?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, objective study because you are using scientific methods to ensure objectivity and all, and this reality is also objective. When it comes to Weber and Mead, there is a deviation from here. What is the deviation? Deviation is in terms of subject matter. What is subject matter according to Weber is actually study social action. You study social action and the meanings attached by the actor to his action. So here actually meanings and emotions and motives and internal aspect you need to study. So is that objective or subjective when we talk about internal aspects? Subjective. So the subject matter is subjective. So subjective reality is what you are studying. But Weber stress on studying it by using scientific methods and establishing cause and effect relationship objectively, etc. So that is why objective study of subjective reality. Now what I can say is Weber have element from both. Positivism, what is the element? This element, objective study. Here it is also objective study. Okay, now let's see the non-positivist. After Weber made, then you can see the pure non-positivist. I will discuss the name later. Non-positivists like Harold Garfinkel, Alfred Schutz, etc. Don't worry about the names, that I will discuss when it comes to the pure method. Today itself we will discuss. But their approach I will tell you.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, can you please tell about Mead again?
Mead and Weber is actually deviated from here, from positivist. Like positivist are, you know, they are like science, objective study and only the external reality. Mead, Weber, both are stressing on use of scientific methods. Both are stressing on use of scientific methods. That is why objective study. But the subject matter is different. And Mead and Weber separately we will discuss in detail in thinkers. So we don't want to get into the complete details of Mead and Weber. Separate thinkers we have to discuss.
Okay.
So here you just understand there is a deviated. In terms of what? The deviation in terms of subject matter. You can see what they are studying is subjective reality, like internal meanings, motives, emotions, like that. Before that is not the case. Now internal aspects, so subjective reality, but they are asking or they are stressing on studying it objectively by using scientific methods. So in that context, the element of positivism is there. Still an element of positivism is there. That is why we are not saying this is pure non-positivism. Then comes pure non-positivism. For them,
Hello, sir.
yes, tell me.
Sir, I want to know about subjective understanding of objective reality.
No, there is no subjective understanding of objective reality. You are talking about this one? Second one?
Yes, sir.
That is objective understanding of subjective reality, no?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, objective understanding of subjective reality means, see, understanding means what? It's all about the way you study. So how you study scientifically by using scientific methods. That's what you mean by objective study. But what you study, the subjective reality, what is that? The meanings, motives, emotions, etc.
Okay, sir.
That is what you mean by objective study of subjective reality. Now let's move on one step further, then you will clearly understand it. Because I am expecting that we will clear this with this discussion itself. That's why I am taking up this now. So if you see here, the third one, non-positivist, they are favoring this one, studying subjective reality. That means internal aspects, meanings, motives, etc. So subject matter for them is subjective reality. Okay, but how you going to study this? Not objectively. Positivist study objectively, Weber also study objectively, but non-positivist will study this subjectively. I will tell you how you mean by subjectively, etc. Don't worry about that. So here they focus on subjective study. Subjective study means scientific methods and all is not required. It is not similar to science. You don't want to make theories. It is not necessarily testable. So that is what I mean by subjective study. So subjective study of subjective reality. So till now what I am saying is, I will elaborate everything. Positivism you already know, and there is no need to have any confusion. It is all about objectivity. So you study external reality, empirical reality. So what you study? Objective reality. How you study? Objective study. That means by using science, scientific methods, scientific principles, etc. Weber, What you study? Subjective reality, because internal meanings, motives, that is the subject matter for Weber. You should not study the other aspects. Internal meanings are more important. How you study? Use scientific methods, etc. So we can say Weber is a positivist in terms of method of inquiry and non-positivist in terms of subject matter. Can you see that here? This is subject matter for Weber. Subjective reality, meanings, etc. So he is a non-positivist and he is a positivist in terms of method of inquiry. You can see that here. Okay?
Okay, sir.
So any doubt till this point? Tell me.
So can you please explain once again, because I didn't understand about objective study of objective reality.
Objective study of objective reality means in
Yes, sir.
positivism what we have learned that you will be studying the empirical element, empirical reality, something which can be seen, right? So
Yes, sir.
empiricism, naturalism, inductivism, etc., that is given stress on. And Auguste Comte said you should never study internal aspects. You should only study the external aspect. That is what you mean by you studying objective reality, something which can be quantified. That's what you mean by objective reality.
Okay, sir.
Now, objective study means use of scientific methods. You use scientific methods and you conduct the study. That is what you mean by objective study.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, something which has proof and evidence. That's what. So, objective study of objective reality, first case. But when it comes to Weber, what you are studying is external reality, but here Weber changed to internal meanings. That is subjective. So, what you study is subjective, but how you study, that is objective. That means use of scientific methods. Okay? And when it comes to non-positivist, what you study is subjective, how you study is also subjective. This technical part, if you when we move on to the PDF and when we go, yes.
So when we say it is subjective study of subjective reality, it means that every sociologist will have a different view about the same thing that they are studying. Like for any social action that we can that is termed as social reality, every sociologist who is studying that social action will have a different perspective or view about that.
It is not necessary that everyone will have a different view. It may be possible that different people have different view.
Okay.
And they appreciate that. Non-positivist will appreciate different viewpoints because you are dealing with human beings, and the investigator also have emotions, the human being also have emotions. So if you are trying to interpret the meanings, obviously you will get different meanings. So there is a high chance that different people will come up with different understanding.
Okay.
And theory is not important here. You don't want to make theory. So non-positivist will never stress on theory. There is no concept of testing. There is no concept of objectivity. Okay, there is no concept of inductive method here.
Sir, then what is the point of doing the subjective study when we are not formulating any theory, or then it is like we are not. It is like just studying and without contributing or without making any effort to improve the society.
No. We can't say that. It is all about understanding the phenomena. For example, when we discuss about social phenomena which are more related to human beings and human meanings and human emotions. So trying to understand is what matters. And how is it going to be effective and all, we are going to study Weber in Mead and everywhere. I will be explaining all these things. At this point, you just need to know what is positivism, what is non-positivism, and what is these people who are in between. So in this context, can we say Weber is considered to have bridged the gap between the two, positivist and non-positivist? Because you can see here, these two are polar opposites. Positivist, objective study of objective reality, that means subject matter is objective and how you study is objective. But when it comes to non-positivist, subject matter is subjective, that means internal meanings, and how you study is also subjective, that means there is no methods, there is no theory, there is no testing, there is no scientific base, etc. But when it comes to Weber, there is one element from non-positivism, other element from positivism. So he is considered to have bridged the gap between the two, and that's his most important contribution also.
Then is
So can we tell this that Weber and me that objective study of subjective reality will be both positivism and non-positivism?
Yes, they have both elements from positivism and non-positivism, because both of them are stressing on studying by using scientific methods, and Weber proposed a lot of methods. We will be discussing all those methods in the coming sessions. For example, Verstehen is one method, ideal type is another method, causal pluralism, causal probabilism, comparative analysis. You don't want to worry about these names, all are very simple. If you talk about Verstehen, it is nothing but comprehension. So Weber, they are stressing on scientific methods to ensure objectivity. So on one side, objective study is there, but what you study? I am going to study the meanings. Meanings means subjective, right? My meanings is so much subjective. Why, if I am teaching, what is the purpose? Why I am teaching? It can be profit motive, it can be to share the knowledge, or it can be to prove some point, it can be anything. So meanings are different.
It is something the study at a macro level?
Macro level study is this one, positivist. When we talk about objective reality, this is macro level, something which is empirical. This is micro level, subjective reality, because you are coming into the individual's meanings, motives, etc.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, so see, just this understand. Now keep this in mind, and when we proceed further, you will understand everything. Even in this session itself, you will understand everything in the coming 20 minutes. This is just the introduction. Don't worry about this part. Even if you didn't understand now, just leave it. We will see that later. Okay, can we move forward?
yes, sir.
Okay, so
Yes, sir.
okay, so firstly, there are positivist, then some deviation was there. That deviation is what you can see from Weber and Mead. That deviation is in terms of subject matter. So subject matter is now changed to internal. So here it was external aspect, now it is internal aspect. Now that will be carried forward by the pure non-positivist. When it comes to non-positivist, so these people are not pure non-positivist. So this subject matter is actually carried forward. Internal aspect is what you are supposed to study for non-positivist also. But here, first case, you have to ensure objectivity. Second case also, you have to ensure objectivity. So here it is carried forward. But here there is a deviation. You are going for subjective study. Subjective study means interpretations, understanding, etc. Not theory building, not using scientific methods. These are subjective study. Simple terms. Okay, can we proceed further now?
Sir, can you explain once again, sir?
Okay, so positivism, all of you understood? Positivism, Pavani?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Positivism is all about external aspect you will study, empirical reality you study, okay? Something which can be quantified you study, you use inductive approach, all those things that we have discussed, inductive approach, something which can be quantified, but how will you study? You use scientific method and ensure objectivity. Second people are Weber, Mead. They are saying you should not study empirical reality, rather you should focus more on internal meanings, motives, etc. So they change the subject matter. But how you study? You should study objectively. Then the third section, that is a pure non-positivist. They carried forward from Weber. You should study internal aspect, but you should not study objectively because you are dealing with human beings. You can study subjectively also. It is just understanding, interpretation, that what matters. Okay, that is a basic understanding. Let's proceed further, and we will see if you face any problem. We can come back and we can still discuss that later. Okay. So
Yes, sir.
yeah, so
Yes, sir.
non-positivism, the major, if you see the major theoretical strands or major points when it comes to non-positivism are exactly opposite of positivism. In positivism, what you study? External reality. So what you study in non-positivism? You can tell me, what you study in non-positivism? Internal aspects like meanings of individual, emotions, motives, etc. Right? So meanings, motives, etc. This is what you study. Okay, then positivist, they generally use quantitative data. Quantitative data means what? Something which can be
Macro level.
quantified in terms of numbers. Like you can quantify in terms of numbers, empirical data, quantitative data. Here more qualitative data. That means, descriptive data. That is what more possible in case of sociology and human beings. Quantification is very difficult. Okay, so quantitative data is not used here. Qualitative data and qualitative methods. Earlier quantitative methods, here qualitative methods. And I will give you examples for these methods. Just before I've told you words to hand, all these are methods. All these things we are going to study later. Then when it comes to positivism, we stressed on cause and effect and causal theories. Here there is no such theories. Okay, there is no possibility of theory building. So here reject theory. Okay, and there is no testing. There is no prediction, and they also support the subjectivity of the individual. So they support subjectivity. So it is exactly opposite to positivism. In positivism, here you can see it was external. In positivism, it was quantitative. In positivism, there has to be theory. Here they reject theory. In positivism, they favor testing. Here they reject testing. In positivism, there is a prediction. Okay, in subjectivity, in positivism, it is completely objectivity. Here, subjectivity is favored. So this is what actually the difference between positivism and non-positivism. Now what we need to see is actually the approach of different people. So positivism, we have discussed about Auguste Comte, we have discussed about Durkheim, etc. Durkheim we will see in detail when it comes to the thinker, so you don't want to worry about that. You just need to know what is positivism, what is non-positivism, and what are the different non-positivist methods, and most importantly phenomenology and ethnomethodology. Okay, so the deviation is actually happening at Weber. You can say the deviation is at Weber. Weber said you have to study internal meanings. Okay, not the external aspect. So Weber gave importance to study the internal meanings, motives, emotions. So is it a deviation from positivism? Yes, it is a deviation from positivism, because positivism was focusing on external aspect. So here deviated, but there is still an element from positivism. What is that element?
Objective study of subjective system.
Weber, even though changed the subject matter, he still stressed on using scientific methods. Scientific methods means, we can say he is also focusing on theories, and that is the reason why you need to study 4 or 5 theories of Weber. Okay, so he is not a pure non-positivist, because he is stressing on scientific methods, establishment of theories. That means objective understanding of subjective reality. Now is this clear, Pavani? Pavani, are you okay with this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so that is about Weber. So we can say Weber's understanding is mainly, interpretive understanding. So if you remember in the scope of sociology, I have told you to study social action and interpretive understanding. What is this interpretation and how he do this interpretation? Everything we will study when we discuss about Weber. The first theory that we are going to discuss about this only. So have an idea, Weber change the subject matter, and the way you study should be scientific. So there is an element of positivism. What is that element? This is an element of positivism. This is the element of non-positivism. So he is considered to have bridged the gap between the two. This is enough for you to write in this section. When the question is asked about non-positivism, you have to write this. See, I'll tell you the structure. If it is about positivism, question is about positivism, first you talk about positivism, and towards the end you need to also mention about non-positivism. Secondly, if the question is about non-positivism, first you mention about positivism, then you talk about Weber and Mead, and then you go to non-positivism. So even though question is asked on one, you have to write both. Okay, if it is a 20 marker, if it is 10 marker, you can enter into that directly. 1 or 2 criticism will be enough. Okay, so similar is the case with Mead also. Mead separately we will study. So here we don't want to write too much here because topic is non-positivism. Weber and Mead are not non-positivist. They are showing the deviation. Mead also stressing on studying the internal aspect like meanings, motives, interaction. Okay, so but Mead also stressing on ensuring objectivity by using scientific methods. So Mead also we can say objective understanding of subjective reality, and his perspective is symbolic interactionism. Symbolic interactionism. This we will study. This is a topic in itself under Mead. So this we will study in detail later. What is symbolic interactionism? Now what you need to know is Weber is an interactionist. Weber is interpretive sociology. Mead is interaction. So these two are not pure non-positivism. Okay, now we will move on to non-positivism. This is very important, and this is what actually more required here. First one, phenomenology. So this is actually given by, the concept is actually introduced by Alfred Schutz. Okay, so Alfred Schutz. For them, subjective meanings is more important, and there is no objective reality beyond the subjective meanings. What the individual think, that is what more important, and that is what you need to study. Nothing more. So individuals' meanings are more important for phenomenologists. And see, for example, if you see an accident, let's suppose how you conduct a study. Let's suppose an accident happened here at this place. So the phenomenologist will conduct a study by directly observing. Okay, this is one way of conducting a study, and he will interpret. So it is all about understanding or interpretation. Okay, or understanding. Interpretation or understanding. So he will say it may be because of a turning point, that may be the issue, or it may be the overspeeding of another person is the issue. So it is simply understanding. There is no theory, there is no universal theory. For this accident, some other reason will be there. Similarly, some other person interprets, some other reason will come. So there is no universal theory, there is no testing, there is no prediction, nothing. But I will now compare it with positivism. If a positivist study this, what he will do is, he will come to this point, he will collect all the accidents which happened here for the last, let's say 1 year or 3 years like that, and he will come up with some graph. This is how the accident pattern is going on, or he will come up with some, tables like this accident is because of overspeeding, this alcohol is because of because of alcoholism, this is because of turning, and based on that curves will be drawn, and he will come up with a universal theory, and he will make a prediction also. You understood the difference? No?
Can you repeat it, sir?
So I'm saying,
Yes, sir.
what I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, if a phenomenologist or a non-positivist conducting a study, for example, this accident happened here, he just simply go and interpret the accident. Simple. Understanding is what matters. that person's
It could
understanding.
be his point of view.
Yes, that's it. And that may vary according to the different investigator. Different person going, this person is going, that will be different. Okay, so that is why I told you subjective understanding. That means each people may develop some different understanding. So one person will give one reason, another person will give another reason. So it's all about understanding. There is no question of theory. You are not going to make a theory of this. You are not going to predict tomorrow will there be accident or not. But a positivist will conduct a study like this. He will collect all the accidents which happen. He will try to correlate with the different reasons like overspeeding or alcoholism, or there is a turning which is the reason, and he may come up with some graph, and he will be in a position to predict also tomorrow there will be a possibility of accident like that. That is what positivism. But is that possible in case of human behavior and human beings? Can we predict an accident that tomorrow that is going to happen over there?
No, sir.
No, because we are dealing with human beings. Human emotions, human actions cannot be predicted. But in case of science, it is possible. Let's say I'm talking about water. If you boil water at 100 degrees Celsius, definitely you know what is going to happen. If you freeze the water at freezing point, you know what is going to happen. But this kind of approach is not suitable for social phenomena. That is why non-positivist emerged later. Now obviously non-positivists also have limitations, so the postmodernists actually changed this also. Now there is no positivism and non-positivism. Everything is a mix. Quantitative, qualitative mix, scientific, humanistic mix, positivism, non-positivism mix. Okay, all these mixed approaches what we are following. Phenomenology or ethnometrology is not complete in itself. There is a lot of criticism, a lot of drawbacks here. But what I am saying is, in case of non-positivism, you just understand the phenomena, that's it, nothing more. No theory, no testing, no prediction. End of it. Understand, end of it. But in case of positivism, you will go much beyond. Okay?
Sir, I have a doubt.
Tell me.
Sir, in phenomenology, we take the consideration for only those, only those person who is conducting the experiment.
Yes.
Or the particular person who is conducting the experiment will collect the, interpretation of the person who are present at the time of accident.
Yeah, that I will discuss. That is what ethnometrology. Now, when we discuss about the next one.
Sir, the phenomenology is the view of a single person who is conducting the experiment.
Yes, exactly. Okay, next is ethnometrology. When it comes to ethnometrology, again the same accident happened here. So you are the investigator. You are here.
Sir,
Yes.
sir,
Huh.
one question. So can we say like phenomenology is not objective free? Like I think it's biased, right? So whenever a individual he is going to conduct the particular test and all, like one person, he is going to see the accidents where the accident happened. So at that time, what he is observing, it can be biased, right? It can be
Rahul,
Yes.
we are saying the same only. It is a biased understanding. It is a subjective understanding.
Okay, sir.
Phenomenology, non-positivism is subjective understanding.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay, so bias is there and they favor the individual bias. They favor the subjectivity. There is no theory. You don't want to prove anything to anyone. So it is up to individual. The way you want, you can interpret.
Okay, sir.
But
So it means positivists are not concerned with the sociology, but they are concerned about making science out of sociology.
positivists were concerned more about sociology because they wanted to give that legitimacy to sociology, and that is why they were stressing on science, scientific methods, etc.
Okay, sir.
Phenomenologists, we can say they are somewhat casual.
Okay, sir.
But better approach in sociology is actually, combination. Both can go together. That is what we are going to discuss in future.
Okay, sir.
So in case of ethnometrology, what will happen is, let's suppose you are the investigator and the same accident happened. So here what will happen is, this accident might have been seen by many people. These are the people who were witnessing the accident. So the investigator will go to each of these people. So he will go to each of these people and will ask, what do you think is the reason for the accident? So different people will tell different stories. And this method is what we call as method of accounts. Method of accounts means the stories that people tell to understand a particular situation. In the first case, you are taking your own story, your own version. Here, you are asking to many people. And you are listening to all the stories given by all these people. And finally, you will take the relevant content among that. So even ultimately, it is resting completely upon you. You are taking the relevant content from these people. Whatever you feel relevant. So there also that subjectivity is there, that bias will be there in this case also. You got it? But if it is a positivist approach, what they do, how they conduct, they will ask to all the people what are the reasons, they will make the table. They will make the table. So some people will say alcoholism, so you will put one number. Some people will say it is because of that turning issue, so you will put another number. And some people will say overspeeding, so you will put number, and you make this thing, and you will quantify things. And you will quantify things and you make the observation. That is what positivist will do. So here positivist actually have nothing to do. All the data is given by the people, you interpret. The job of a positivist is only to interpret. But this person, he will ultimately decide what to take, what not to take. You got the difference?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The relevant in the sense you are talking about the similarities between, like suppose 100 people have seen that particular accident. Okay, so they might have got 100 viewpoints, right? So among those 100 viewpoints, which are the similar, the ethnomethodologist, he will take which are the similar, right?
No, ethnomethodologist will take what is convenient to him, or what he feel like, or what is better for him. We can't say what he is going to take, but we can say what this guy positivist is going to take. We can say, because he is making this. Let's say you are talking about 100 people, no? So let's say 60 people are saying because of overspeeding, 30 people are saying because of alcoholism, and 10 people are saying because of the turning. So he will conclude that it is mainly because of overspeeding, based on the number, based on the fact.
Okay, sir.
But in case of ethnomethodology, even though 60% saying the same story, only one person is saying a different story. It is up to this investigator to decide, can I go with this one person or not?
Okay, sir. Got it.
Okay?
Sir?
Yes, Pavani. Tell me.
Sir, is ethnomethodology is related to common sense, sir?
Yeah, non-positivism actually related to common sense.
Okay, sir.
That is why but we cannot say completely common sense, and you should not say that it is related to common sense, but in reality it is almost similar to common sense.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Sir, I have a doubt.
Tell me.
Sir, in ethnomethodology, okay,
Mm.
so the person who is conducting the experiment, okay, so he is only collecting the information of the people who saw the accident,
Yes.
right? And according to that, by his own understanding, he is selecting one of the reason and saying this is the possible reason for the accident.
Yes.
So there is no, there is no interpretive situation. In positivism, he is making chart, he is making the table, okay, and mentioning all the reasons of the accident. Then he is interpreting that what could be the possible reason for the accident. This is the interpretation.
No. Interpretation is there in both. In positivism also interpretation is there, and that interpretation lead to a theory, and that lead to prediction and testing in positivism. But in non-positivism, at the point of interpretation, it's over. Nothing more is there.
In ethnomethodology, where is the interpretation?
See,
he is not interpreting. He is not interpreting anything. He is taking the concept. He is only taking the views of the people, and on the basis of given views, he is only choosing one of the options. There is no interpretation.
Not one of the option. He is just selecting. He may take from this person. He may take from this person also, and he will interpret it. It's in his own. So interpretation is there in both. Here the interpretation are like a quantitative interpretation, like tables and graphs and etc. Here it is qualitative in terms of description. So whatever he feel like, he will interpret. Whatever he think like most probable cause.
Okay, so sir, in where we can place an interpretivist, in the positivist or the mixed approach or pure non-positivist?
Interpretivist will come in both. Actually, positivism also interpretation is there. Non-positivism also interpretation is there. In mixed also interpretation is there. But simply when we talk about interpretive sociology, that is mixed. Simply,
Mixed approach.
yeah, Weber's approach.
Weber's approach.
Yes.
And also the meets approach, because meets also come,
Yes.
come under
That category, but mainly Weber's approach. But that we will discuss separately. Then you will understand more. As of now, you see interpretation. Here also interpretation is there. Here also interpretation is there. When I am drawing this table and all, this is interpretation. This graph is basically interpretation. No, at this point this will happen. At this point this will happen. This is interpretation. But the way you interpret is different. Here objective interpretation. Here subjective interpretation.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So as if one more thing, I have, yeah.
Related to methodology. So, under ethnomethodology.
Divya, can you repeat? It was not audible. Divya, can you repeat that?
Under that.
Some problem with my am I audible to every one of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Divya, can you repeat?
Sir, I think she's asking about definition of ethnomethodology.
No. If there is a question in exam related to ethnomethodology,
Yes.
so under that we need to explain about the methods of accounts.
Yes.
Okay, sir.
So see, even if the question is about ethnomethodology, if it is 10 marker, it is very simple. If the generally only 10 marker will be asked in case of specifically phenomenology and ethnomethodology, but 20 marker they will ask in case of non-positivism. There you need to write everything. Weber you need to write, Mead you need to write, phenomenology you need to write, ethnomethodology you need to write, everything you need to write.
Can we mention any case, like we can create our own case and then as an example?
You need to write example. For example, the one which I have given to you, similar to that, you can also create some other example and you can write.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir, to summarize this, can we say that in positivist there is a objective interpretation?
Yes.
And in non-positivist end, or the mixed where the positivist and non-positivists are there, like Weber and Mead, there is a subjective interpretation.
No. In mixed, it is objective interpretation.
Sir, where is the objective interpretation?
Because Weber and Mead, they are stressing on objective understanding. They are stressing on objective study. Only in the pure non-positivism, phenomenology and ethnomethodology, only what you said, subjective understanding is matters. In Weber is stressing on theory building. You are studying a lot of theories in Weber. So Weber's approach is also theory building. Weber is talking about cause and effect. Others, you don't worry, cause and effect, Weber, all these things we will discuss later. Okay. So Weber is also talking about theory building, establishment of cause and effect, studying it objectively. So Weber's approach is also objective understanding. That's what I told you now. Positivist is the initial people. So objective understanding of objective reality. Objective understanding means objective interpretation. Weber, objective interpretation or objective understanding of subjective reality. So objective study of subjective reality. Here objective study of objective reality. Then non-positivism, pure non-positivism, subjective study of subjective reality. So you can see here, study means interpretation. This is subjective interpretation. These two are objective interpretation.
Sir, if I am taking your own example,
Yeah.
like accident example. Okay, the person who is conducting the experiment is taking the views of the person who were present at the time of accident.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So, many persons said that this is due to the wrong, turning issue. Some of them said that this is something the overspeeding, right?
Yes, yes.
So after listening all the views, I conclude that what could be the possible reason.
That is what happening here.
This is
Ethnomethodology.
After listening. So how can this is the objective interpretation, sir? Because my biasness is there, na?
That's what I'm saying. This is subjective interpretation. That comes under ethnomethodology. That is subjective.
Ethnomethodology is the ethnomethodology comes under the mixed part, na?
No. Ethnomethodology is pure non-positivism.
And phenomenology?
Pure non-positivism. These two are pure non-positive. That's where you got stuck. See, in pure non-positivism is what we are discussing, phenomenology and ethnomethodology. These two are pure non-positivism. In between, the phenomenology also pure non-positivism.
Pure non-positivism.
Yes.
Okay.
Weber is the mixed one. Weber comes mixed one. Phenomenology and ethnomethodology is pure non-positivism. That is what subjective interpretation. There is no objectivity. They don't talk about objectivity. They just completely ignore objectivity. They support subjectivity. What is objectivity? What is subjectivity? We will do tomorrow in detail. Okay, can we now conclude this discussion with PDF? Yeah, as if one more thing that I have added you to the app. Only as if I have added you, others I will add later. So can you check it and let me know whether it is okay for all of you, like whether it is working. In fact, in the other batch also I have added one person. So if you can confirm that, then I can add everybody within 2 days.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can see all the lectures.
Okay, you can see. You check that.
Yeah. Does this video? No, only 3 playlists.
Yes.
Under this sociology, the discipline, there are some videos.
Yes.
Research method analysis, one video, and stratification mobility, one video.
Okay, so whatever uploaded so far you can see. Okay, then I will add everyone also. Okay. Yeah. Can we move to the PDF now?
Yeah, sure, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Towards the end of 18th century and the 19th century, the positivist approach like empiricism, inductivism, universalism came to be. Universalism means universal theories. Inductivism means it is an approach of theory building. Empiricism means empirical reality, external reality. Okay? Came to be questioned by an alternative school of thought broadly referred to as idealist. Scientists like William Dilthey, Heinrich Rickert highlighted the difference between natural world and social world. So you know the difference, right? Natural world is dealing with what? Matter. Social world is dealing with what? Human beings. So human beings have consciousness, etc. That is what we are going to discuss. According to them, social world is unique in terms of meaning, symbols, values, etc. On the other hand, natural world is guided by the laws of nature. Thus, there are some internal sides which exist in the form of ideas in the minds of individual. This is this one, German. So few of the PDF which I have uploaded, I will edit. I need some time. So I will when I am uploading it in the app, I will edit and I will upload it. In the app also you will be getting PDF under each video. So there I will upload it. I will edit and upload. So now anyway I will send this PDF, but you have to see some spelling mistakes. Famous general idealist, German idealist, George Hegel opined that social phenomena are the result of ideas generated in the minds of individuals. So what he is saying, social phenomena are the ideas. So if you need to study social phenomena, what you need to study? You need to study the ideas. And ideas are what? Internal aspect, right? So you are studying external means that is not enough. So this is a new thought. This view was in direct contradiction with the prevailing positivist school. You know the reason. Although in sociology, the initial perspective used was positivism, but by the end of 19th century, an alternative school of thought inspired by idealists emerged, which later on came to be known as non-positivist school or even anti-positivist school. So you can start your introduction with this. This is a very good line. You can write like that. So you're talking about positivism, you're talking about idealist, you're bringing about non-positivism. Everything is there. Positivism, then idealist in between, then non-positivism. So that line is very good, well constructed. You can write exactly the same. This perspective posed its origin in sociology in the writing of Max Weber and to an extent G.H. Mead also. So positivism to non-positivism, there is a deviation which is happening at the writings of Weber and Mead, mostly Weber. Weber's ideas represent a transition from positivism to non-positivism. It is said that by introducing a new dimension to subject matter, he brought non-positivism to sociology. According to him, the task of sociology is to study the human action and the meanings attached by the actor to his action. So study the meanings. At the same time, Weber argued that the science of society is based on use of scientific methods and establishment of cause and effect relation. So you see here, Weber says studying meanings. Meanings is internal. Correct now? This is okay? This is internal, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So similarly, he is stressing on scientific methods. That means what? Cause and effect, scientific method, that is an element of positivism, right? So this is the element of non-positivism. This is the element of positivism. Are you okay now with this?
Yes, sir.
So on one side he is saying you study the meaning. Other side he is saying use scientific method. That is what I told you. So this is the objective understanding part. This is the objective understanding part. Cause and effect and scientific. But this is the subjective study. Subjective reality. That is what you mean by objective study of subjective reality. So sometimes it is argued that Weber is a positivist in terms of methodology. Why? Because using scientific methods. So you are a positivist. Weber is a positivist, but non-positivist in terms of scope of sociology. Why? Because you are studying the meanings. Now is this clear? Objective study of subjective reality?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Similarly, G.H. Mead proposed an interactionist perspective in his book Mind, Self and Society. We will study this. This approach was later on formulated into a perspective by Blumer and came to be known as symbolic interactionism. Actually, Blumer is a student. Mead never wrote a book or anything. Blumer actually formalized into a perspective and a book. Blumer is actually the student of Mead. From his lectures, he compiled everything. So we will discuss this in detail later. But one line I have written here, symbolic interactionism is also part of non-positivist method, but not in pure form. According to Mead, the human behavior is governed by internal processes by which people interpret world around them and give meaning.
According to the society, how people live.
No. I interpret the world around myself through certain internal process which is going on in my mind. Based on that, I will interpret the world around us and I will give meaning to my life. So what I should do, what I should not do, it all depends on, the internal process which is going on inside me. So based on that only I am acting. So there are some process which is going on inside me, so I am teaching. So that's how I give meaning to my life. According to Mead, okay. So these meanings are built up, reinforced and modified in the process of interaction with other members of society. This interaction process is mediated by the use of symbols. See, don't worry about this particular paragraph. This we have to discuss around 400-500 words. Here only 40 words are written. So this use of symbol means we will see when we are interacting, we use certain symbol, different gestures. It can be verbal, non-verbal. Now when we are communicating through verbal symbol or gestures, sometimes non-verbal by actions, All these things we will discuss. So don't worry about this particular paragraph. Just understand Weber and Mead are the deviation. Okay, so the interactionist also did not overrule the use of scientific method. You see the sentence? So they did not overrule the use of scientific methods and establishment of cause and effect. Thus, there is an element of positivism exists in Mead also. Is that clear? So these two are considered as, in between. There is an element of positivism, but they deviated from positivism. So you can see interactionism will come in between positivism and non-positivism. Now phenomenology. So phenomenology means subjective understanding of subjective reality. The first perspective to be recognized as a pure non-positivist was phenomenological perspective. Why purely non-positivism? Because subjective understanding, subjective reality. Okay? Phenomenology represents the most radical departure from positivist perspective. This perspective took shape in the writings of Alfred Schutz. Berger Luckman, in their book Social Construction of Reality, formalized this perspective. Phenomenologists go further than interactionists. They reject the possibility of reducing causal explanation of human behavior. So there is no need of theory. According to this perspective, human beings make sense of the world by imposing subjective meanings, and there is no objective reality beyond these subjective meanings. It emphasizes more on understanding. Okay, their importance is more on understanding, not theory, rather than theory building, and the use of scientific method is minimum. There is no scientific method, there is no theory formation. Ethnomethodology. Non-positivism is further enriched with the introduction of ethnomethodological approach. Here, the emphasis on understanding the reality is in terms of methods or views used by people in their day-to-day life to understand a situation. This approach has been developed by Harold Garfinkel in his book Studies in Ethnomethodology. This approach uses the method of accounts. That's what I've told you. What is this method is what I've told you. That is the stories that people tell for the purpose of understanding a situation. I've told you already that investigator will go and ask to each and every individual, and you listen to the stories to explain that particular accident, and you take the relevant content. It is a socio-psychological approach taking into consideration the individual accounts. Difference between phenomenology and ethnomethodology is in the source of meaning, where the meaning is developed, which people generate in their mind. In case of ethnomethodology, meanings are generated with respect to a particular phenomena directly, whereas in ethnomethodology, you take the detailed individual accounts from different individuals with respect to that particular situation, and then ethnomethodologist takes out relevant material from the individual accounts. Okay? Now you can see elements. These are going to be very easy. Non-positivism emphasizes on understanding social problem in terms of their internal sides. So this is the most important point. Internal side means meanings, sentiments, emotions, etc. For example, phenomenology and ethnomethodology. Second, according to this approach, scientific methods is not there, cannot be used in sociology. In general, non-positivists favor generation of qualitative data, use of qualitative methods like deduction, not induction, comparative analysis, etc. All these we will study. Weber's method of worst hand, this also we will study, was a qualitative method devised for such study of social action. Non-positivists reject the formulation of theories, rather its approach emphasizing more on understanding. Although initial non-positivists attempted to develop causal theories, but later non-positivists like phenomenologists and ethnomethodologists rejected such possibilities. Can you tell me who is this initial non-positivist that I am referring to here? Who are they?
Weber and Mead.
Yeah.
Weber and Mead.
Here I am talking about Weber and Mead. They stressed on theory, right? They are focused on theory. But phenomenologists and ethnomethodologists, they rejected completely. In this approach, testability is not possible, prediction is not possible, are considered as distinct dreams because the reality rests in the minds of the individual, and that keeps on changing. Non-positivist favors subjectivity and highlight the feasibility, not feasibility, this is futility. Okay, that means it is not possible. Futility. Feasibility, if you write, that is the exactly opposite meaning. Non-positivist favors subjectivity and highlight the futility of an objective approach, which is considered neither possible nor desirable in sociology. I've told you already, objectivity, absolute objectivity is neither possible nor desirable in sociology because you are dealing with human beings. Although non-positivists do use a logical approach in which they tend to eliminate the subjectivity of the investigator, but they do accommodate different values and biases. What are values and biases, I'll discuss tomorrow. Because I've already told you, objectivity means freedom from personal biases. Personal biases will come from various values. Okay, so values means I've told you already that preferability, rejection, to what you give importance, what you prefer, all those things. We will discuss that tomorrow in detail. And values you need to study in ethics also. Values, morality, ethics and all those things. Okay. Although non-positivists had enriched the subject matter of sociology and have highlighted more on using the humanistic approach in sociological research, still this approach is not devoid of limitation. Now we are going to critical analysis part. So this is your critical analysis part. So here we are basically talking about one line contribution. Okay, and then criticisms. This approach could not resolve the dilemma of subjectivity and objectivity. Why we are saying so? Because initial non-positivists relied on objectivity, Weber and Mead, but later non-positivists talked about subjectivity. So different non-positivists had different opinion on possibility and desirability of objectivity. For example, Weber and Mead favored objectivity, but later this is non-positivist. Okay, so please be very careful when you are reading. I am expecting that you will understand that if you write positivist is an entirely different thing. But later non-positivist did not. Then non-positivists could not develop single methodological principle in terms of the use of quantitative and qualitative data. Some phenomenologists used quantitative data because these are in numbers, but still some phenomenologists use this as to support their qualitative research. For example, Cisorel, an ardent critic of quantitative method, made extensive use of statistical data in his theory of juvenile justice. I think this I have discussed before with you. This methodology heavily depends upon the ability of the investigator, requiring proper training. The application of this method involves huge cost and time. For example, ethnomethodology account can only be generated after a lengthy technical procedure undertaken by a specialist. Non-positivists rely on understanding the phenomena. A number of times research on same phenomena resulted in different explanation, sometimes inconsistent. You know the reason. In practice, application of this approach was found more suitable for microphenomena which are more specific. Correct, na? It is difficult to apply in the study of macro phenomena. In the absence of possibility of theories, use of scientific methods, objectivity, this approach has been accused by some scientists as non-scientific and vague. So these are some criticisms. That is very simple. You already know that criticisms anyway. Now the conclusion. After 1940, the debate between positivist and non-positivist started fading out. Now there is no such discussion after 1940s. Okay, during Durkheim and Weber time only this discussion was mainly there. Now there is no theoretical purity. Nobody is claiming that I am a positivist or I am a non-positivist. The fading out in the favor of more composite approach. Mixed approach is what is followed now. Famous sociologist has resorted to the combination of these approaches rather than sticking to methodological purities. Moreover, postmodern methodologies used by different sociologists often combine qualitative, quantitative methods, etc. Okay? Some postmodernists, such as David Harvey, attempted to use methodologies according to the purpose of research. See, now it all depends on the purpose of research. You use whatever you want. There is no theoretical purity. Nobody want to stick to positivism or non-positivism or quantitative or qualitative method or subjectivity, objectivity. There is no such discussions now. So whatever is convenient to you, that is what you are using in the study. So this is a postmodern approach. So that's about non-positivist methodology. So I hope this is clear. Any doubt we can discuss now.
explain the third number point in the elements of non-positivist? Point number third.
Okay, what is that? Non-positivists reject the possibility of formulation of theories. What is the problem in that? They reject
No,
the
I'm asking. No, sir. In the criticism part.
Criticism part. Okay. Criticism, you don't want to focus too much. Whatever is coming to your mind, you can write criticism. You don't want to study the same. Okay. So here, what I'm saying is the methodology heavily depends upon the ability of the investigator. You only told me this point before. It completely depends on the ability of the investigator. Different investigator will come up with different understanding.
I'm asking about this statement. The ethnomethodological account can only be generated after a lengthy technical procedure again by a specialist. What is the meaning of this?
I've told you now. You are an investigator. You have to go and ask to so many individuals, and you have to take a detailed account of all these individuals, and you have to take the relevant content from that. See, this is just for the sake of criticizing. We are developing a point. You don't want to worry about all those things. If you want, you can write it as an advantage also.
Okay, sir.
So here, what I'm saying is, what is that lengthy procedure? You are asking to so many people.
No, sir. The problem is with the specialist. If he is a specialist,
That investigator need to be a specialist. Not everybody. You and me cannot be a sociologist. No.
so
It
sir,
has to be
what I understand for to read the sociology in terms of non-positivist, one has not to be a very good sociologist, because this is not something.
No. That's contradiction. Non-positivist should be the very good sociologist, because he is going to interpret more in subjective terms. So he is the good sociologist actually. Positivist, their role is very limited. Positivists, their role is actually very limited. Why? Because positivists get all the data. So positivists, the role is just interpretation of the data. They just make it in tables or graphs and they can interpret. For them, see, when you are going for let's say a questionnaire, so you will ask questions to people. So you get yes or no. Okay. So you may say 100 yes I got and 40 no I got, and based on that you can make a conclusion. And this yes or no you can send another your assistant also with the questionnaire, and you can get this yes or no. You don't want to participate, but that is not the case with non-positivism. The original sociologists have to go get the understanding and make interpretation. You got it?
Like ethnography.
Yes, you have to get the detailed account directly, but here it's only yes or no. Simple.
Okay.
For example, a domestic violence study is conducted. So he already asking whether your husband is consuming alcohol or not. Yes, no. So suppose X is the person who conducting the study. Y is the assistant. You can send Y also to collect this data, because only yes or no. And based on the questions, he will put 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1. Like that, he can put numbers, no. Simple. And then he can give this data which is collected to the actual sociologist, and he can interpret based on this table. He don't want to go, he don't want to know anything. But that will not happen with ethnomethodology. Correct?
Yes, sir. So how how a person who is in the support of ethnomethodology will predict the situation of domestic violence?
Why you don't want to predict anything? Ethnomethodology, there is no prediction, there is no theory. It's only understanding.
Okay, understanding. So how the ethnomethodologist will be going to understand the situation? Like,
okay, I'll give you one example. See, for example, when we talk about Green Revolution, okay, so till now you might not have connected it to low sex ratio. So some sociologists will say, especially Nivedita Menon, her study only, she conducted a study, and she said that Green Revolution is actually the reason for skewed sex ratio in Punjab and Haryana. How? Because when Green Revolution is there, male population actually migrated to the green revolution area from non-green revolution area. So that led to high female number here and male number high in the green revolution area. So that is one interpretation, that is one understanding. Okay, and you don't want to check it here. Nobody is asking for checking or testing or reliability, validity. No such questions are asked. General criticisms will be there, but apart from that, you don't want to prove any point here. And if at all you need to prove, you can prove also with the data in case if you need to prove. But understanding is what matters. Your understanding knows this low sex ratio is because of green revolution. You got it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Anything else?
So,
Yeah, tell me.
my doubt is not regarding this topic. While you are writing essays and everything, in questions they will define a keyword, right?
Yes.
Can you please discuss those keywords, how to tackle the questions?
We will discuss. Not now, we will discuss that.
Okay.
Yeah. Everything we will discuss.
Okay.
Sir, please upload the PDF of today's and
PDF I will upload now itself I will upload.
tomorrow's lecture also please upload, sir.
Yeah, tomorrow's I will upload.
So that we can correct it while you are telling us. Teaching
Yeah,
us.
sorry. Yeah. Okay. I forgot to upload it actually.
Okay.
Tomorrow's also I will upload. Yeah.
Thank you. Sir.
Okay, can we stop now?
So,
what about the ethics class, sir? So,
Which one?
the ethics class,
Ethics class, actually one batch is going on now. That is almost half. And it's almost half now, but I will start one maybe in after the prelims.
Okay, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Start ethics only after prelims.
Now the new one I'm going to start after the prelims. Already one is going on. So that I think I've reached the fifth module. The thinkers part, moral thinkers is going on. So it won't be convenient for you to join in that.
Okay,
And
sir.
how much time will the ethics whole syllabus will take? I mean, all the
20
lectures. 20 days. That
Yeah.
will be great. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
20 sessions, 20 days.
And 140 marks.
140 marks. Yes. It's up to you. I can tell you what to do. It's up to you. Yes.
So after every topic, can we just take 10 minutes of the last minute to decide from that particular topic, what are the expected question or the type of questions?
Actually, except in this topic, every other PDF if you see, I'm starting with the questions only. Here, what is the possible question? Only directly you will get question. What are non-positivist methods? So non-positivist methodologies. This is a direct question. So what all things you need to write? You start with positivism and few criticism of positivism, and then you talk about Weber, that is a deviation, Mead, then you talk about phenomenology, and then you talk about ethnomethodology, and then you talk about the criticisms that we have discussed now, and then you talk about the postmodern approach. What is the postmodern approach? I've told you, there is an integrated approach. That should be your conclusion. Otherwise, they can ask you discuss positivism, and as a critique to positivism, also discuss non-positivist method. That is also again a direct question, same as what you do, but then you have to give more importance here also, like that. All these are direct questions. So that is the reason why I didn't discuss here. Or you can get phenomenology directly, very short note, ethnomethodology directly. These are short notes, can be asked. That is why I haven't discussed. These are direct. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you.
Yeah.
Like in PDF, if it is possible, we can mention that in the PDF, expected question from that particular topic.
Every PDF it is there except this positivism and non-positivism, because there is nothing to deal in positivism and non-positivism. It is direct.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So can we stop here?
Yes, sir.
Bye, sir. Bye.